I would like to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to hand it over to Superintendent Mark Halloran.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for coming, and thank you to Channel 3 for broadcasting this tonight. This is a bond hearing for a potential renovation of the CTE building, or as many people know, the Vocational Center. It's a unique set of circumstances, and let me just give you a bit of a background to how we got to this position. This building was built in 1983, and other than some cosmetic changes that have been made and some minor upgrades, the building as is, as it was in 1983. A number of years ago, the district had the opportunity to do this very thing, to go into a renovation project, but the board, in its wisdom, said the timing wasn't right. We were in the middle of a recession, and it just didn't feel right to do that. So we stepped aside. A couple of other districts went ahead. This year, we find ourselves in a position that two districts are ahead of us. The Salem School District on the Massachusetts border, who is looking at not only a high school expansion, but also their center for renovation, and also the White Mountain Regional School District. If both of those districts pass bonds, then we will not be moving forward, even if this bond is accepted, because there's only enough money in the state of New Hampshire for two renovations. If one of those districts declines to move forward, and we decide to move forward, the voters decide to move forward, then we would be in a position to do this renovation. The great piece right now for us is that this renovation would be 75% funded by the federal government. We would be paying for 25% of this renovation. And so it's a great opportunity to use the federal government's 75% for this project. So tonight, John Francis, the facilities director in SAU 48, Randy Cleary, our director of the CTE programs here at Plymouth Regional High School, and Dan Rossman, the business administrator in SAU 48, will be going over the project and also the cost of those projects, and then we would be responding to any questions that the audience may have. So on that note, Madam Chair, I return it back to you for Mr. Francis and Mr. Cleary.
All right, I'm not sure who's going first.
I think I'll begin and just give a brief overview of our career and tech ed program here at Plymouth Regional High School. As Mr. Halloran has stated, the Plymouth Applied Technology Center opened its doors in the fall of 1983, which is approximately 30 years ago. It is one of 18 career and tech centers in the state of New Hampshire that not only seeks to prepare students for successful entry into post-secondary education, but it also has the unique ability to prepare students for direct entry into the workforce. We currently have 5 programs, which include autos, culinary, health science, drafting, and marketing. The Plymouth Applied Technology Center currently serves students in both the Newfound Regional High School and Plymouth Regional High School. Current enrollment is strong. At this time, we have 259 students enrolled in the 5 programs, 229 of which are from Plymouth, 30 which are from Newfound. At this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Facilities Coordinator, John Francis, who will present the proposed scope of work.
Again, thanks for getting this broadcasted on Channel 3. It's a big help in getting the information out. What I'd like to do tonight is actually go over the scope of work involved in the project, and I'll use the floor plans and conceptuals to help show the audience and the people at home what we're proposing to do. I'd like to start with the conceptual of what the building will look like on the exterior. From this point towards the southwest is where the vocational center is, and this is the area where a lot of renovations will take place, as well as part of this project we're looking at putting the biomass wood chip facility in at this time as well. And then you can see the rear right side of the building, which is the southwest side, which is where the glass farm wall used to be. You can see that a lot of that's going to be taken out. And when we get into the floor plans, you'll see that we're going to be expanding autos across a large section of the first level, the lower level. And then the extension on the building will be where the wood chips are stored for the plant. Coming over to the lower level floor plan. The biomass plant will be in this quadrant of the building. This is where the heating plant exists now. We'll be expanding and taking out 2 classrooms in order to fit all the equipment that's required to run that wood chip plant in this quadrant of the building. We will be able to use the existing stack, placing a stainless steel liner in it. The stack height is adequate. What exists there now, it doesn't need to be higher than it is. Like to know, oil consumption, energy is a big part. We want to try to conserve all our energy costs. We all know what oil does at any given time. Just as a point of reference, from September of '09 to April of 2013, we have seen in this district a 77% increase in fuel oil costs. So it really behooves us to really consider this in the project. The next piece is going to take place in the autos area. You can see how we've expanded autos all the way across on that lower level. There'll be 4 bays will have lifts, permanent lifts. The 5th bay is a movable lift. The classroom that was displaced will get moved right into the autos area itself. That will encompass new tool storage, new restrooms, and then part of the new stairwell on the back side on that lower level. We move over more into the high school. At the facility, not all not all of the voc programs are in the original vocational center. They have a mix inside of the high school. So you utilize square footage in the high school as well. So that there'll be some of the renovations will also be taking place in the high school. This is our health block area. That will be expanding out, consolidating. She was in 2 areas before. She'll now be in 1 area. That displaces one of our weight room, part of our physical education area. So that actually will get moved over into woodworking in this section here. And then at the same time, we'll be picking up some much needed locker room space that we had in the lower level during the day. We're very short on locker room space that the kids are taking to the gym. Also, the other thing that gets displaced is the training room. That will be moved over to an old storage room in this corner here. And then woodworking will get moved over into another special ed classroom that will be moved as well. And that's pretty much what takes place on the first floor. Throughout the project, there's a major upgrade to the electrical infrastructure, phones, data, the PA systems, and fire alarm systems throughout all floors, as well as plumbing upgrades in the whole building too. New piping, bathrooms. Some of the bathroom equipment will be able to be used. It was one of the cosmetic upgrades we did several years ago. Another major change to address down on the first floor is the elevator and ADA access, because anybody familiar with the vocational center knowing going out this existing back corridor, there's a ramp, which is how we move handicapped people around down that back section. And and we'd be losing that. So in order to accommodate that loss, we've taken the elevator and we'll reconfigure it. So right now, it's a 3-stop elevator, and we'd be creating a 4-stop elevator. There'd be one on a very low level, and then there's a few stairs up, which gets us to this lower level of the high school. That elevator will also stop on that level, so that'll address any future ADA needs that we have in the loss of that handicap ramp. Also, we'll be tackling the roofs. The roof is on the docket. We've been working roofs. Last year, we worked some of the roofs, and this will be the last section of roof that we do, and that falls underneath this CTE renovation. Also, we'll be doing some security upgrades to this building, consisting of electronic doors and door cameras throughout that area. Again, I mentioned that we're losing the existing stairs in the back. We'll be building a new stairwell on the back corner in this section. And also, when we get to the outside, I'll show you we're going to be putting a new generator. Our existing generator sits here now. It's a 1983 generator. She's run her course. It's time to replace it. So when I get to the outside, you'll hear me talk about the generator and where that will be located. I have it on the outside floor plan. I'll mention up the generator right now. The existing roadway, I don't know if people at home can see it, but our dotted line is pretty much where the sidewalk is. You can see that the building's going to, the wood chip plant's going to expand out that way a little bit, so it's pushing us beyond out into the road. So a lot of that stuff moves. But as far as getting the wood chip loads in, the trucks which will come in at night will come across the front of the high school, pull up into the park and rec facility, and then back in and unload chips. So in order to do that, there's a small transformer here now. That'll get moved over, and at the same time, we'll locate the new generator. Will be next to that, over on that side, on the opposite side, over by park and rec. Quadrant of the school in culinary arts tends to sit back. That's going to be doing a 180. Marketing, the school store, will be in the back quadrant, and then culinary arts and the community, the restaurant community room will be out front. So this will be the new culinary arts area, culinary arts classroom. Marketing will be back right quadrant. And the school store and the marketing store will be in the back side as well, and then storage and then restrooms. And again, the stair tower, egress tower will be in that back left corner. This is a floor plan of the second floor section of the vocational area. Right now, student services is up in this corner. They will be relocated, and drafting, which moved from the first floor, will be in this section here. And then digital media, which exists, it's going to remain in that corner. One thing I'd like to note too, when this trom wall, glass wall comes out, we actually will pick up an additional between 4 and 5 feet along this whole corridor all the way along on the lower level and the second floor level. We'll actually pick up that square footage along this whole wall in all these areas. So digital media actually takes advantage of that extra space here. And then student services and offices are going here. And then again, a couple bathroom changes and a small office in this section will be taken on the second floor. And again, just to recap, the areas that we're getting into are the boat programs is autos, which we talked about, culinary arts and their equipment, marketing and their equipment, health op, and finally drafting on the upper level. And the net square footage of renovation is about 41,221 square feet. Any questions from?
Well, thank you very much. Dan, I think you're on for questions.
Good evening, thank you. I don't know if did everyone have a chance to pick up the packet of cost projections in terms of financing? We spoke with the, well, a little bit of preface. What we've tried to do here is based on the current year's assessment rate, the assessment rates that are being used this year for next year's budget, break out what the cost for each member of the cooperative would be. These are all based on a projected interest rate of 3.5%. So we're all clear. Really, the information is fairly clear, in my opinion, obviously. What we're trying to do is make a decision on how long does the project be financed for. Obviously, the longer term, the longer we finance it out, let's say 7 years in these projections, it's a smaller number each year that you have to deal with from a budgetary perspective, but your overall interest expense over the life of the financing goes up. So just between the 3 and the 7 years, if we go organization-wide, there's about a $700,000 increase in interest expense if you take it out over 7 years instead of paying it off in 3. However, the implication with the 3 years, while you save the $700,000 interest expense, you're going to have to pay more each year. Fairly simple math. I really would suggest to you that the entire project is being proposed based on the availability of this 75% federal subsidy to the principal expense. It doesn't get much better than that from a business perspective. I can't imagine it ever growing from that perspective. And as Superintendent Halloran said at the beginning, there's about 2 projects a year capacity in the state. So we're really putting ourselves in line should one of the 2 projects ahead of us in line not move forward after this current cycle this spring. Naturally, the numbers that are contained we gave you 3 and 5 and 7 year projections for both principal and interest expense by member town. Those numbers would fluctuate as the assessment rates within the cooperative change year over year. Those are fairly minor fluctuations. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any about the basis for this financial model.
Mark, are we going to be publishing these numbers on our website?
Yes. Yes, all the material that you see tonight, most of it is already on the website, and others will be going on the website as of tomorrow morning. And certainly at our deliberative session, we will also have all of this information.
Dan, did you talk to the banks? Did you say about the 3.5%?
I did. I spoke with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank as recently as this afternoon, confirmed that these were valid rates to convert. If we were to consummate a financing transaction within the next 6 months, they felt very comfortable that this was a safe number.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have one.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
My name's Jeff Downing. Has anybody estimated the impact of this project on our annual, fuel and energy expense for the town and for the school district? Because I would guess that a large part of this project is mechanical, electrical upgrades, and we would be using smart technology. Has anybody done any payback on that?
John?
Yep. Our annual fuel to school runs between 55 and 60,000 gallons a year, based at a $3.50 per gallon rate. That generates approximately $192,500. And if we were to go with wood, that would be a 905-ton consumption of wood at $60 per ton is the going number right now. That nets at $48,870 a year for the wood. And the cost difference between the oil and the wood is about $143,630 that would be not spent because of we're not using oil, because we are using wood. I know in our conceptual drawings we were looking at a water solar system on the wood chip plant to help make some hot water. And we're also looking at two-size systems on the vocational roof, a 60 kW photovoltaic system and a 40 kW photovoltaic system to help offset the total consumptions that the high school and vocational area consume on an annual basis. So those would be two key pieces. All the equipment, HVAC equipment that we have, we will go with heat recovery, high efficiency. The name of the game today is energy, energy, energy. And then envelope improvements, the best that we can do in the existing building, like getting rid of the glass wall. We'll pick up, there's a huge heat load there that we pick up in the summer and the early fall, late spring when we're in session. That side of the building gets very hot because of that glass trom wall that's there. It just generates a lot of heat out of there. So that will be removing that load, which is an air conditioning load for us in those upper rooms. And we can knock that down by changing that wall out and changing the envelope out. So it's a win-win for heat and cooling.
How about on the power end of it? Because you must use a lot of electricity as well. Are you planning to use LED lights everywhere?
Yes, I'd like to, again, the LEDs have come really full circle in a very short time. So that would be something that we would definitely introduce in this project and then work the rest of the building in over time, converting it over to LED lighting. LED lighting in our early projections are around the 60% mark as far as cutting our lighting load by 60%, just because we change from a T8 style fixture. We can change the wattage out of that fixture down considerably, but each fixture is about 60%, and maintain the lighting that we need for educational purposes. So there's that, and then VFD drives where we can get them in and where they make sense, especially on our big pumps, and run a lot of the same, very similar build that we've done when we've renovated several of the other buildings in the district. So every one of them has developed, actually surpassed some of our expectations on energy savings. So.
Thank you. Could I ask one more question?
Yeah, please.
Deferred maintenance, how much of this bond issue is deferred maintenance, and how much of it, if we don't pass it, we're going to have to deal with anyhow?
Yeah, that's, we, again, as Superintendent Halloran and Folk Director Clary has mentioned, the building was built in 1983. We've done some, minor cosmetic changes, but a lot of the infrastructure is 30 plus years old, and it's tired, and we're limping along with what we have, but this will be a great time to address those things. Otherwise, we are going to have to start fixing and replacing some of the bigger components that we have.
Ross?
To follow up on that, the roof would be the first thing. Apparently that needs to be replaced now, so
Yes, it
if we
does.
don't do the project, we're still gonna have to do the roof,
Correct.
which I assume is, based on what we did with the last roof, is a significant number. The other thing I was gonna ask Mark and Dan is, are we in a position to commit the savings, identifiable savings, resulting from this project, to the reduction of the cost to the taxpayers of the project, or would it get shifted to program expansion or other like?
No, in my conversations, Ross, with John, the number that he just used for the oil reduction, that could be identified with the board's permission to say that goes toward a principal payment, or that goes toward principal and interest. But certainly, those are very identifiable savings. As we have begun to do now with the electricity savings from all the upgrades that John and his staff have done throughout the complex. So it's very doable. It's very identifiable.
My other question is, if we do the project, what additional expenditures are we looking at for equipment and other non-building costs? Have we identified any of that? Or?
They're not significant because we're not expanding any of the current programs that we have. And the programs that we've been looking at really take normal classroom space. If we got into going back to accounting and some of those programs that were severed a number of years ago. But within the bond number is upgrades for culinary arts and the autos program, but they're contained within the number that's here, along with a number of other pieces of equipment that have been identified by Randy and John as having to go with the programs.
And we're not, if I want to make one more, we're not looking at any additional staff or the like as a result of this?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Yeah.
So say, for example, if we have to replace this roof anyhow in the next 2 or 3 years, and that roof's a $200,000 item, if we don't do it as part of this project, or if we do it as a capital, we pay full price? There's no state aid available for that?
That's correct.
No state aid, correct.
Or federal aid? Okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you have the superintendent has walked through a number of times with the state, said, here's what we're looking at doing, and so far they've identified nothing that would be out of, they would like to do, that would be out of bounds and not be eligible for the 75%.
You're asking Mark to confirm that?
Yes.
Randy actually has spent, and Randy and John have spent an awful lot of time with folks from the Department of Ed and have walked through and all of the questions that we've had. Does this qualify? Does this qualify? And we've got affirmative responses from the Department of Ed on what we're trying to do. There's nothing out of the ordinary in this project. This is very much a renovation of an existing vocational center, and the upgrades that are being made are merely those that make sense in terms of energy efficiency and all of the new requirements, safety, security, all of it. This is nothing really out of the ordinary. This is just good, solid upgrading with the federal government paying 75% of it. There's no longer a building aid program, an active building aid program in the state of New Hampshire funded by the state of New Hampshire. The state is paying all of its commitments that have been made, but right now, all of the money that's being raised in the existing state budget is for the debt service that had been approved over the years. So this is the one active program through the vocational programs with the federal government that is still active. And right now, it's funded at 75%. The future of that, it would be anyone's guess, but right now, the commitment is at 75%.
If I may, to correct me if I'm wrong, the voters voting on this article, a positive vote, even if the funds do not become available in this coming fiscal year, would still allow us the ability to access that money the following year. We wouldn't have to go through the whole routine all over again.
You still have the authority for that amount of money. What we would be doing, though, is we would be looking at the project to see what that amount of money would get you in future years. So it may not, as you know, costs go up, particularly in construction. So we would have that authority, but also we would have to measure it against what the real costs at that moment in time.
Well, I guess there are no more questions. I would like to remind people of the deliberative session, the budget deliberative session, on Tuesday, February 4th, and that would be here
Right in this room.
at 6 o'clock. So we'll discuss the budget and, again, just go over this briefly. So thank you for coming. The hearing is ended.